The day I found out I was pregnant, I asked Leo for a divorce, just because I celebrated my assistant's birthday with her. He raised an eyebrow. Yes. Fine. He took the agreement and signed his name without a second thought. I won't agree to getting back together within 3 months. Don't come crying and begging me then. After 7 years together, he knew 3 months was the longest I could stand a Cold War. He was even more certain that I, his devoted follower, couldn't live without him. But he didn't know. I had already scheduled the surgery and bought a small apartment in a northern city over 1,000 kilometers away. My mother used to say that an unfaithful man is worse than a dog. This time, I wasn't going back. I put the signed divorce papers into a folder and was about to turn and leave. Leo spoke calmly. I'll give you one more chance, Clara. Marriage isn't a game. I turned back to look at him. I'm serious. You always say you're serious. He chuckled and shook his head. You've even pulled the divorce papers stunt. What are you planning for next time? The soft light of the crystal chandelier enveloped Leo. He tapped his fingers lightly on the table, relaxed and confident. There won't be a next time, I replied calmly. His fingers paused. Leo seemed to want to say something more, but a clap of thunder suddenly echoed outside, and the phone on the table lit up. The name Amber flashed across the screen. I gave a sarcastic look, but Leo just shrugged and put the call on speaker. As soon as the call connected, a young girl's tearful voice came from the other end. Mr. Hayes, it's pouring rain. I'm stuck at the office and can't get a cab. There's thunder and lightning outside. I'm so scared. Leo didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked up at me. In the past, I would have snatched the phone and yelled at her, then warned Leo not to go and pick her up. But now, holding the divorce papers, I felt a sense of relief. After a moment of strange silence, Amber seemed to sense something was wrong. She asked timidly, Is Mrs. Hayes there? Before anyone could answer, she quickly explained. I don't mean anything by it. It's raining so hard. It would be inconvenient for you to come and get me. Mr. Hayes, I was just hoping I could stay in the president's office for the night. If I've upset Mrs. Hayes, I can explain to her. I promise I won't make a mess in your room. Mrs. Hayes, are you listening? I couldn't help myself. I stepped forward and took the phone. Amber, if I remember correctly, your position is president's assistant. The girl on the other end seemed startled and stammered a yes. So, as an assistant, when you encounter extreme weather while working overtime, your first instinct is to call your superior and cry about how scared you are. I asked in a soft voice. You can't get a cab and can't go home. And, even though the company has a staff lounge, your solution is to ask to stay in the president's private bedroom. Is that right? Amber went silent. Your work ethic is terrible. And your sense of boundaries is even worse. Calling your married male boss at this hour to whine, did your parents not teach you about propriety and shame? I glanced at the clock. It was already 11 p.m. She had only been with the company for 3 months. Leo was always lenient with his employees. There was no reason for her to be working this late, even if she really couldn't get home. The staff lounge had folding beds and toiletries. But Amber's first thought was to ask to stay in the president's office, in the small bedroom Leo used when he was working late on projects. I had even stayed there with him sometimes. My toiletries and pajamas were still there. How could she have the audacity to ask to sleep there? Not to mention all the other little incidents that had been grating on my nerves. Even though I was prepared for it, I was still so angry my chest heaved. I'm sorry, Mrs. Hayes. I was being thoughtless. Please don't fight with Mr. Hayes because of this. He's been so busy with work lately. He's already not feeling well. Amber burst into tears. She cried like a child, but she knew not to hang up. Her sobbing was infuriating. That's enough. Leo stood up, snatched the phone back, and quickly soothed her in a low voice. She's just a recent graduate. She doesn't know any better. Why are you taking it out on her? He frowned at me, completely oblivious to Amber's little tricks. Such a clumsy ploy. Was he really so oblivious? Or was he enjoying it? The anger that had been churning in my chest suddenly subsided. I looked at Leo and felt like everything was utterly pointless. The rain fell all night. The next morning, the first thing I saw when I opened my phone was a social media post from my best friend, Olivia. The user ID was Mr. Hayes' exclusive little assistant, and it had been posted an hour ago. a private car in a rainstorm, a cheerful breakfast after a gloomy mood. Guess which fairy tale president's house this is from? The first picture was a selfie of Amber in the back of a Maybach. The second was of her holding a Starbucks coffee, secretly toasting a distant Leo, who was working. There was a little heart drawn on the coffee sleeve. I was stunned for a moment. Leo hadn't gone out last night. It seemed he had sent the family driver to pick her up. My phone vibrated again. Olivia was calling. Clara. Who is this little green tea witch? How dare she fantasize about your man? Does Leo even know he's being played? Fire her immediately. All the comments are calling her Mrs. President. It makes me sick just looking at it. I clicked on the account's profile. It only had a dozen or so posts, but had already amassed nearly 300,000 followers. It documented the daily interactions between a clumsy little assistant and a domineering president. Every line dripping with ambiguous, pink-tinged romance. Her followers were going wild, all of them urging them to get married. Olivia was still ranting. This little witch is quite the storyteller. Everyone knows Leo is a block of ice who only thaws for you. Like he would go out of his way to remember her period. And that sapphire necklace. Isn't that from your favorite jewelry brand? Olivia's voice grew quieter. After a long pause, she asked softly, Clara, are you crying? I covered the mouthpiece and sniffled hard. No. It's just the rain last night. I caught a bit of a cold. Let's not talk about this. When are you coming back to Crestwood? I want to go with you. Olivia was silent for a moment, then said, Did Leo fight with you over that girl? He didn't fight with me. I looked out at the gloomy sky. The glass was still wet from the night before, the lingering water droplets blurring the view outside. It's just that this city has had too much rain. I don't want to stay here anymore. Last night, when Leo signed the divorce papers, he didn't hesitate for a second. What was there for me to hold on to? I also told Olivia about the pregnancy. She was so excited she was screaming on the other end of the phone, insisting that I meet her. But when I got to the restaurant we had agreed on, she was still stuck in traffic. Leo and I used to come to this private restaurant often. The staff were all familiar faces. The manager saw me and expertly led me towards a private room. Mr. Hayes has been here for a little while. Please watch your step. Leo was here too. I stopped in my tracks. Familiar laughter and conversation drifted from the room. I remember when this place used to have a seasonal dish. Clara would always beg you to bring her here. Why didn't you invite her today? It was the voice of Vice President Miller. She's throwing a tantrum. Don't worry about her. Leo's voice was as cold as ever. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have worked so late and then called Mr. Hayes. A sweet, girlish voice chimed in. Amber was there too, just because of a phone call. Another vice president clicked his tongue. Clara's temper is really getting worse by the year. Leo, don't mind me saying this, but she chased you for so long. And now that she has you, she doesn't appreciate it. Always causing drama. Did Clara really chase Mr. Hayes? Amber suddenly interjected, her voice filled with undisguised delight. I thought. Her tone shifted, and she sighed softly. Sigh. Mr. Hayes is so good to her. He's so busy he barely has time to eat. But he still makes time to celebrate all these holidays with her. And if one little thing doesn't go her way, she throws a fit. It breaks my heart to see. The room fell silent for a few seconds, then erupted in jeers. See, your wife isn't even as understanding as your assistant. Women, they all turn into shrews as they get older. Not like young girls who actually care. I felt a chill run down my spine as I listened. These men were all friends who had started the company with Leo. Back when they were struggling, I had used my own money to buy them equipment, ordered fruit for them in the summer, and brought them late-night snacks in the winter. They had all called me sister-in-law so sweetly, and this is what they said behind my back. I didn't want to hear any more. I turned to leave, but accidentally bumped into a waitress carrying a tray of food. She gasped. The seasonal seafood platter she was carrying spilled all over the floor. The laughter in the room stopped abruptly. The door opened. Sister-in-law. The vice presidents exchanged awkward glances. I looked up and saw Leo sitting at the head of the table, with Amber right next to him, like she was the hostess. The manager rushed over to clean up the mess. Fortunately, the young waitress wasn't burned. I apologized to her, and she blushed and said it was fine, then went back to work. Leo's eyes were on me the entire time. Mr. Miller came over, smiling sheepishly. Sister-in-law, when did you get here? Why didn't you come in and sit down? 15 minutes ago. My face was blank. You guys continue. Oh, this is all a misunderstanding. Leo, aren't you going to say something? The men all stood up, smiling awkwardly, trying to get me to sit down. Amber suddenly pushed her chair back, stood up, and poured herself a glass of white wine. Sister-in-law, please don't misunderstand. They didn't mean it like that. Her fingers trembled as she raised the glass. Today is my first day after my probation period. Mr. Hayes invited a few of the vice presidents to celebrate with me. I was feeling a little emotional and complained a bit. It's all my fault. Please don't be angry with Mr. Hayes anymore. I'll drink this as an apology. Amber downed the glass of wine in one go, then choked, her face turning red, tears welling up in her eyes. Leo, sitting next to her, frowned slightly and handed her a tissue. I sneered. You've said it all yourself. You've really painted me as the villain. Amber looked up, her expression a mix of fragility and defiance. I came to this big city alone after graduation. I have no family or friends here. Mr. Hayes is the only person I can trust and rely on. Last night, it was raining so hard. I panicked and called him. You said I have no sense of boundaries, and I accept that. But you also insulted my parents, and I really can't accept that. She choked back a sob. At her words, the vice president's expressions changed, and they started to look at me with disapproval. I was so angry I could have laughed. I was about to retort. Leo suddenly spoke up. Clara didn't insult anyone. He looked at Amber and said sternly, let's not dwell on this. It's in the past. Amber could only nod meekly. She then mustered up the courage to pour 2 more glasses of wine and walked over to me. Sister-in-law, I'll toast you again. Can you forgive me? This time, Leo didn't stop her. He knew I could hold my liquor, but I was pregnant. Whether this child would come into the world or not, I didn't want to harm my body this way. I took the glass, and with a flick of my wrist, I poured the contents onto the floor. Everyone in the room was shocked. Amber looked like she was about to cry and turned to Leo for help. The next second, a loud slap landed squarely on her face. You're quite the actress, aren't you? You've got a whole room of men wrapped around your little finger. Did you think my Clara had no one to stand up for her? A warm, rosy scent filled the air beside me. Olivia was here. Before anyone in the room could react, she scanned the room, her eyes landing on Leo. Leo, are you just going to stand there and let this little witch walk all over Clara? Do you even know that Clara can't drink right now because of her condition? Leo looked at me, a flicker of confusion and shock on his face. What's wrong with her? It's none of your business. Just take care of your little assistant. I grabbed a fuming Olivia and left the room, leaving the stunned crowd behind. Clara, your fighting skills have really gone downhill. Back in college, you used to handle all of Leo's admirers with ease. Why were you so passive today? Olivia took a big gulp of her bubble tea, clutching her chest in frustration. Besides, you're pregnant with his child. What are you afraid of? You should have just let her have it. I patted Olivia's back and said softly, I asked Leo for a divorce last night, and he agreed. So I'm not planning on keeping this child. I want to move to Crestwood. The series of bombshells made Olivia choke on her bubble tea. After she finally calmed down, she fell silent. Clara, 7 years. Can you really let go? Olivia asked softly. I knew she wasn't defending Leo. She was just afraid I would regret it, that I would be heartbroken. After all, I had loved Leo for 7 years. He was a part of my life. I looked at a little girl holding a balloon in the distance and fell into deep thought. I had asked myself the same question countless times these past few days. But something Olivia said just now suddenly clicked. She said I used to handle all of Leo's admirers with ease. But I was never a strong person. I would cry after arguing with my roommate. I was terrible at dealing with these kinds of catfights over a man. All I ever had to do was tell Leo the first was jealous, and he would be the one to draw the line with any girl who got too close. It had never been as ugly as it was today. This time, he was willing to sign the divorce papers rather than transfer Amber. I knew then that our relationship was beyond repair. The first time I met Leo, it was quite dramatic. My roommate was dating his roommate, but the guy was cheating on her. The day after she found out, she dragged us along to confront the cheater. Leo happened to be there. The cheater was stammering, trying to get Leo to vouch for him that he had been in the dorm all night. But when Leo understood the situation, his face instantly turned cold. I can't help you. Being faithful to your partner is a baseline. The young man's voice was clear and cold. He was wearing a faded plaid shirt, faced with my roommate's taunts and threats. His eyes were as firm as if he were defending some precious truth. In that moment, my heart skipped a beat. Yes, my standards for a partner were simple. Just loyalty. The most basic, yet the most difficult to find. Ever since I could remember, my parents had argued about this. My father was a handsome man, a playboy of his time. He would spend his nights at dance halls, coming home with lipstick stains on his collar. My mother loved him, and she hated him. She even held a knife to her own throat, begging him to stop seeing other women. But he would just sweet-talk her for a few days, then go back to his nightlife. Finally, the string of sanity in my mother's mind snapped. On the winter solstice, she put on bright red lipstick, wore her favorite dress, and hugged me one last time. Clara, don't ever find a man like your father. Then, without looking back, she jumped from the roof of the dance hall, landing in the snow like a beautiful, shattered flower. I dreamt of that scene on countless nights and rejected every boy who pursued me. Until I met Leo. I thought he was different from my father. At first, Leo showed no interest in me. People told me he was the famous iceberg of the physics department, never seen with any girl. But that only made me more determined to win him over. He had a weak stomach, so I would wait outside the men's dorm at dawn with breakfast. He loved to read philosophy, so I would borrow the books he had read from the library and occasionally post reviews on my social media, visible only to him. He loved an obscure band, so I would travel across the city to find their out-of-print records and then casually give them to him as a birthday present. And so it went until our sophomore year winter. As usual, I was waiting outside the men's dorm with warm buns for him before class. He walked up, saw my red nose and ears from the cold, and suddenly sighed, taking off his scarf and wrapping it around me. Clara, love yourself first, then love others. I buried my face in his scarf, smiling so wide my eyes crinkled. Of course I loved myself. That's why I had carefully chosen a partner for myself. From then on, for 7 years, Leo truly had eyes and a heart only for me. Until Amber appeared. One day in July, Leo came home late from work, saying his car had been scratched and was in the shop. I asked him what happened and if he was hurt. He shook his head, pulled me into his arms, and said something interesting had happened that day. Apparently, HR had rejected a recent graduate, but the girl refused to give up, cornered him in the underground parking garage with her resume, and almost got hit by his car. I frowned as I listened, about to say how dangerous that was. But then I saw Leo, lost in the memory, a smile on his face that he himself didn't even notice. A strange sense of panic washed over me, and the events that followed only confirmed my fears. Was it the cartoon emojis that suddenly started appearing in his texts? Or was it that he was 2 hours late for my birthday? Or maybe it was that even when my period wasn't due, he would have the housekeeper make all sorts of nourishing soups and bring them to the office in a thermos. And that necklace, the anniversary gift he had bought for me. He had ordered one for Amber too. There were too many things. For the past 3 months, we had fought countless times because of Amber. He said Amber reminded him of his younger self, with a certain grit despite her poor background. He would talk about her faded canvas shoes, and his eyes would fill with a look of pity. He said he was just mentoring her as a junior, but he crossed the line time and time again, trampling on my dignity. Just 2 days ago, during a big fight, I smashed the little pig figurine Amber had given him. Leo's face turned cold, and he stormed out without looking back. I cried my eyes out, then went to wash my face. I was horrified to see that my expression in the mirror was exactly the same as my mother's all those years ago. A face contorted with resentment and bitterness. Ugly, and, in that moment, I knew I had to leave. I booked a flight to Crestwood with Olivia and went home to pack. When I opened the door, I found Amber there too. She flinched when she saw me, then immediately straightened her back. Clara, I'm here to help Mr. Hayes pack. He's taking me with him on a business trip to East City. After saying this, Amber watched my movements warily, apparently still scared from Olivia's slap. I ignored her and went straight to the bedroom. Leo was inside, looking for clothes. Ties and shirts were scattered all over the bed. When he saw me, he pursed his lips and asked casually, "You weren't feeling well yesterday. Did your period come early?" I gave a sarcastic laugh. "We're divorced. You don't need to worry about me." I walked around the mess on the floor, opened a drawer, and started packing. Leo crossed his arms, his eyes following me with a questioning gaze. After watching me for a while, he suddenly chuckled. "You knew I was going to East City. That worried." "Huh, go on. Tell me, when are you planning on secretly following me? I'll have Amber change the tickets so we can all go together." I ignored him and reached for the suitcase on top of the wardrobe. Leo came over to help me. I tried to keep my distance, but he pulled me into his arms. "Stop it. You've already hit her. Aren't you satisfied yet?" He whispered in my ear, trying to placate me. This was Leo's usual trick. I frowned, about to push him away. Amber's voice suddenly came from the doorway. "Mr. Hayes, I'm a little thirsty. Can I go downstairs and buy a bottle of water?" Leo paused and looked at her. "There's water in the fridge. You can just get it yourself." But Amber shook her head frantically, still with that timid expression. "I'm sure Mrs. Hayes wouldn't like me touching her things. I'd better just go to the convenience store downstairs." I laughed. "Since you know I don't like it, why did you come here?" "To deliberately annoy me." Sensing the hostility in my words, Amber's eyes turned red, and she pulled her hand back from the door frame. Leo's voice dropped. "I asked her to come. It's more convenient for us to go to the airport together later." He turned to Amber and said gently, "You're not familiar with this area. Don't wander off. It's fine to get water from the fridge." Amber nodded, looking wronged, and left. As soon as she was gone, Leo looked me in the eye and said seriously, "I don't understand. You can be so tolerant and considerate to that waitress at the restaurant. But why are you so against Amber? She's only in her early 20s. It's normal for her to make mistakes." I smirked. "Because I'm a mean and jealous woman. I see my husband with a female assistant, and I get so jealous I threaten him with a divorce. Does that make sense to you? Are you satisfied now?" Leo took half a step back, his brow furrowed in deep disappointment. "If you're going to be like this, then don't come to East City with me." "Who said I was going with you?" I sneered. "Then where are you packing to go?" I ignored him and continued to look for clothes. But as soon as I opened the wardrobe, the overwhelming scent of orange blossom hit me. I couldn't help but retch. The sachet in the wardrobe had been replaced with orange blossom, my most hated scent. The exact same scent as Amber. Leo didn't realize what was happening at first. He came over, saw my pale face, and his tone softened. "Are you really not feeling well? Have you been to the doctor?" I shook my head. "Just a stomach bug." He touched my forehead and was about to say something else. Amber knocked on the door again. "Mr. Hayes, we should go. We'll miss our flight." Leo glanced at the time, hesitated for a moment, then helped me to the bed and said softly, "Have the housekeeper make you something light to eat for the next few days. I'll bring you back some butterfly pastries from East City when I get back." He kissed the top of my head gently, just like he used to, as if our argument had been forgotten, and I would be waiting for him at home. As always, after arriving in East City, Leo seemed to be trying to make peace. He would send me his itinerary every day and ask about my health, just like before. I didn't reply. I even felt like laughing. He didn't need to tell me any of this. Amber's social media was updated frequently. Golf clubs, private ski resorts, yacht clubs, auctions. Wherever Leo went, she followed. If the work itinerary was confidential, she would post about their leisure activities. The glamorous high society life brought Amber a flood of traffic and attention. One top comment even asked when she and the president were planning on having a baby so they could be reincarnated. Amber replied with a shy emoji and pinned the comment. Her posts soon reached people in their circle, and the blurry side profile of Leo in the photos was recognized. Different kinds of comments started to appear. "That's Mr. Hayes from Apex Tech. I remember his wife was a college classmate. They got married right after graduation. OMG. So the blogger is a homewrecker. I've been shipping them for so long. Ugh. Unfollowed. You're dirtying my feed. Why is everyone blaming the woman? Let me say something about the man. Cheating men are trash." Similar comments became more and more frequent. Amber couldn't delete them fast enough, so she had to hide her posts and set her account to private. But the topic had already spread. Someone started a thread analyzing whether Mr. Hayes' exclusive little assistant knew she was the other woman. I was about to scroll past, but then I thought about it and went back to buy some traffic for that post. A little more drama wouldn't hurt. In the kind of person who enjoys a good show. A dull ache started in my lower abdomen. I put down my phone and took a sip of the Angelica and black chicken soup Olivia had brought me. The day after I flew to Crestwood, I had the surgery at a private hospital. The doctor said I was a bit anemic and suggested I stay for a few days to recover. I ended up staying for a week. There was no way. The day after I flew to Crestwood, I had the surgery at a private hospital. The doctor said I was a bit anemic and suggested I stay for a few days to recover. I ended up staying for a week. There was no heart-wrenching sadness as I had imagined. When I woke up from the surgery, I was so calm it scared me. The baby was still very small, only 40-something days, just an embryo. I was glad I hadn't brought him into this world. A child of unloving parents is like a plant that never sees the sun, always struggling more than others. The bitter taste of medicine filled my mouth. Olivia's housekeeper was an excellent cook. I finished the soup in one go and started reading the share transfer agreement. If things went as expected, Leo would be contacting me soon. I didn't expect him to come looking for me in person. I had just gotten a heads-up call from Olivia. A moment later, a travel-worn figure appeared at the door of my hospital room. Leo's face was ashen. He stared at me, lying in the hospital bed. After a long time, his lips moved, and he managed to ask in a strained voice, "Why are you in the obstetrics and gynecology department?" "I had a small surgery," I replied calmly. "It's what you're thinking." He swayed, almost collapsing. The nurses passing by all looked at the tall man with curiosity. I sighed. "Come in." Closed the door. "I have something to tell you." Leo walked to my bedside in a daze. Up close, I could see the stubble on his chin and the faint dark circles under his eyes. His shirt was unirond, the collar wrinkled. It looked like he had rushed over on an early morning flight. I looked away and handed him a file. Our divorce was too hasty. We didn't settle the division of assets. Apex is your life's work. I don't want shares. Just give me $30 million in cash. And I want half of the real estate, funds, and insurance. Leo's hands started to tremble as he flipped through the documents. He looked at me in disbelief. "When did you handle all of this?" I smiled without a sound. "While you were taking your exclusive little assistant to see the world and prepare for pregnancy with her." Leo frowned and quickly explained. "If it's because of that account, I've already had my PR team on it. The news will be contained, and the account will be deleted soon. It won't have a major impact. Amber, he paused. Amber will be transferred to a branch office in another city. She will no longer be my assistant. She said social media was a side hustle, that she just got carried away and wrote those things for clicks. None of it was real." Leo's words came out faster and faster. He looked at me in pain, his hand trembling as he reached out to touch my stomach. "Clara, it's been 7 years. Why do we have to end up like this? Why?" I coldly slapped his hand away. "Even now, you still don't think you've done anything wrong, do you?" Leo was stunned for a moment, then roared in suppressed anger. "What did I do wrong? Besides work, I never crossed the line with Amber, and I never did anything to betray you." I burst out laughing, clutching my stomach, tears almost streaming down my face. "So remembering your assistant's period, giving her a multi-million-dollar necklace for her birthday, being inseparable on business trips, and even drinking from the same glass, that's all just work. Our Mr. Hayes is just so humane." I applauded softly, my praise sincere. Leo's face went from green to white. He pursed his lips and finally explained after a long pause. "I just saw my old self in her. You wouldn't understand. I was like that back then, poor and ostracized, struggling to find a job, having to grit my teeth and get through everything on my own." "I understand." I cut him off, closing my eyes. My voice still trembled. "Despite my best efforts, I was the one who walked with you through all of that. Have you forgotten, Leo? Those insecure, bitter, and confusing years of our youth. I had carefully protected the young man's pride, falling off an electric scooter in the rain and getting covered in mud. It was fine. Saving up for months to buy him a discounted suit made me happier than buying 100 dresses for myself. Having to eat at a street stall for our anniversary. He was so guilty his eyes turned red, promising to make it up to me. I had just raised my glass to a stray dog and shouted that we were going to be rich. I was the one who accompanied him from a rented room to a wider world. And he had eagerly taken the fruits of our labor to nurture another girl. Do you know why I hate celebrating my birthday alone? Leo was taken aback, confused by the sudden change of subject. Because every year on my birthday, I dream of the day my mother killed herself. She was driven mad by my father's affairs and chose to die rather than stay with me. I stroked the white bed sheets and said softly, "And this year on my birthday, you abandoned me too, just to help Amber fix her stupid computer." Leo still wanted to explain. I shook my head and looked him straight in the eye. "You said it yourself. Being faithful to your partner is a baseline." The bullet from 7 years ago hit him right between the eyes. Leo clutched his hair in agony. "I will not repeat the same mistake. This marriage is over. You can go now." Leo refused to leave. Olivia cursed at him, even slapped him twice. But the next day, he would be back outside my hospital room, with more expensive supplements, and my favorite butterfly pastries and irises. I didn't touch any of it and sent it all back. This went on until the day before I was discharged. Mr. Miller suddenly called. He said the Amber incident was being exploited by a competitor. The public opinion was getting worse, and Apex's stock was plummeting. Worried that my own shares would devalue too much, I called Leo in and told him to go back and handle the company's affairs. "I'll be going back too." Leo's eyes lit up. "But I'm not attending any press conferences, and am not helping you clear your name. You made this mess. You fix it." Just now, when Mr. Miller called, besides wanting me to persuade Leo to come back, he had another request. The shareholders wanted me to hold a press conference with Leo to clear up the cheating scandal. After all, nothing substantial happened. You should at least give Leo a chance. You two have been together for so many years. He's rejected so many people for you. If he really wanted to do something, he would have done it by now. This time, it was the assistant who was young and foolish. You're the bigger person. Don't hold it against her. Apex only recognizes you as the boss wife. Okay. I laughed. Mr. Miller, I'm not the understanding type, and am an old shrew. I can't help you with this. Also, Leo and I are divorced. Whoever wants to be the boss wife of Apex can have the title. Mr. Miller fell silent. I hung up crisply. Deep breath. One last trip back. There was something I had to do. I had planned to travel separately from Leo, but he checked my flight and followed me to the airport like a ghost. I couldn't be bothered with him and just slept with my sunglasses on the whole way. He was considerate enough to follow from a distance and not disturb me. Not a word was spoken. We arrived at my doorstep. Amber, who must have gotten the news from somewhere, was waiting for us. She had lost a lot of weight in just a few days. She was dressed like a student and wasn't wearing any makeup. A stark contrast to her glamorous appearance in a designer dress last time. The moment she saw Leo, her eyes turned red with grievance. "Mr. Hayes, the HR department has suspended me. They even threw out all my things." Leo's face was cold. "I arranged it. You can report to the branch office next month. But I'm your assistant." Amber still wanted to fight. "You should know what you did wrong. Suspension and transfer is the lightest punishment." Leo's tone was harsh. He walked around her, trying to lead me into the house. Amber's eyes were red, and she chased after him. But I just posted a few things. What girl hasn't fantasized about a domineering president falling in love with her? She was sobbing. I admit there was some fiction in there, but you need a topic to get traffic in social media. "Mr. Hayes, you know my parents are both disabled, and I have a younger brother in school. They're all waiting for me to send money home. I'm under so much pressure. That's why I tried to earn extra income this way. Mr. Hayes, please give me one more chance." Amber reached out and grabbed Leo's sleeve, crying pitifully. What a sob story. I crossed my arms and watched with amusement, including the necklace. Amber had received at least $2 million worth of gifts and bonuses from Leo in the few months she had been working for him. Not to mention the designer dresses for various banquets, VIP cards for private clubs, and so on. I had looked into it. Her parents' health was indeed not good, but they were hardworking, honest people, not the type to leech off their daughter. Amber was so desperate because she couldn't bear to lose her current lifestyle. Leo seemed to realize this too. He shook off Amber's hand in disgust. "That's enough. If you don't leave, I'm calling security." Amber was still crying and trying to explain. I didn't expect that post to get so much traffic. Someone must have been pushing it from behind. She seemed to have found an opening and looked at me with red eyes. Sister-in-law, was it you? I know you don't like me, but Apex is Mr. Hayes' lives work. How could you do this just to vent your anger? Shut up, Leo roared. Don't you dare slander Clara. You're in no position to talk about what she's done for Apex. Amber laughed through her tears. Mr. Hayes, even now, you still don't get it. Look at her. So high and mighty. Besides demanding emotional support from you, spending your money, and sucking you dry. Has she ever cared about your health? Does she know how hard you've worked to build everything from scratch? While you were working day and night for the company, barely having time to eat, she was living the high life at home, throwing tantrums and fighting with you over every little thing. What has she ever done for you? A person like that doesn't deserve to be with you. Amber's face was twisted with hatred. I suddenly felt a sense of relief. I raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. Looks like you didn't learn your lesson last time. When I was going through hardships with Leo, you were probably still daydreaming about marrying rich somewhere. What right do you have to say I don't deserve him? You fool. The security guards who had been alerted by the commotion dragged Amber away. She cried out Leo's name over and over, but he never responded. Leo held a press conference alone, apologizing to his supporters and announcing a temporary leave of absence that would not affect the company's normal operations. Thanks to his sincere attitude and the launch of a corporate charity fund to divert attention, he managed to contain the damage. After Amber's scene that day, Leo canceled her transfer to the branch office. She didn't give up and tried to corner him in the underground parking garage again. But that day, Mr. Miller was driving. He didn't brake in time and hit her, sending her to the hospital. At the hospital, Amber cried and demanded to see Leo. The incident was filmed and posted online, leading to another wave of public ridicule. By the time I saw the video, I had already finalized the share transfer and division of assets. The day before I left for Crestwood, I went to see my mother. Her grave was neat and tidy, with a bouquet of purple irises and her favorite mung bean cakes. My face was blank. I threw the flowers and pastries into a plastic bag and replaced them with the ones I had bought. Mom, I can't throw away the things he brings for you anymore. Just pretend you don't see them. Okay. I stroked the smiling face in the photo and said softly, these were all from Daniel, my biological father. After my mother's suicide, everyone thought he would remarry quickly, but Daniel seemed to become a different person. After the funeral, he sat in the house for 3 days and 3 nights and shaved his head. He stopped going to dance halls, stopped flirting with other women, and spent his days drinking himself into a stupor. When he was sober, he would clutch my mother's photo and weep. The old lady next door would always shake her head and sigh when she talked about him. He didn't appreciate her when she was here. What's the use of crying now? Yes. What was the use? If the depth of love had to be measured by the pain of separation, then such a relationship was nothing but mutual torture. It started to rain as I was walking down the mountain. Autumn was just around the corner, and a chill was in the air. I saw Leo from a distance, holding an umbrella under a sign, waiting for who knows how long. He saw me and rushed over, tilting the umbrella towards me. He then pulled out a bag of warm chestnuts from his coat. I saw them being sold on the street and got you a bag. I remember you always craved roasted chestnuts every autumn. He held the bag out to me carefully, as if it were a treasure. The sweet, roasted aroma filled the air. I didn't take it, just stared at his shoulder, which was getting soaked. Leo, I said, do you remember the morning we got together? He was taken aback. Then a look of joy crossed his face. I remember. It was snowing heavily. You were waiting for me downstairs at the dorm with buns, your face all red from the cold. I straightened the umbrella, covering his shoulder. You told me then to love myself first, before loving others. I then looked down and took another umbrella from my own bag. If you're asking me to forget all of this and get back together with you, it would just be torture for me. What's done is done. You can't put a broken mirror back together. So let's both just love ourselves. The light in Leo's eyes slowly faded. I'm sorry. And don't come looking for me anymore. I have a lot of things to do. Like renovating my apartment. Like getting a puppy. Like opening my own studio. I opened my umbrella and walked away. Olivia had just sent me a photo. The little apartment I had my eye on has a south-facing balcony. In the afternoon, the sunlight is just right, and even the floor is tinted a pale gold. It's perfect. I've had enough of this rain.